This is Michelle and I are both at the Language Centre at the University of Leeds, and the reason why we're both talking today and looking at CPD through scholarship is because I've taken on the role of Director of Scholarship at the Language Centre, and Michelle is the Deputy Director, but she also leads the in-sessional provision. And so we have built a sort of CPD program through scholarship, particularly for in-sessional, but it's now expanding. It started with the creation of scholarship strands at the Language Centre, which we started around impact, Gen AI, and disciplinary discourse. So we were thinking about building scholarship expertise and capacity and experience through those sort of groups where there would be some expertise, existing expertise, and where people could develop their experience through joining existing scholarship projects or collaborations. And so we sort of saw that would be a CPD as ongoing, and Grant and Steve, you touched on that, the fact that it just, it's a long-term endeavor, and also applied. So learning about scholarship while taking part in scholarship projects. So today we're just going to talk about the disciplinary discourse. Gen AI, they're running a PIM in June. Impact, there's quite a bit of publications coming out now, which you can find on the CELT website. I think, Michelle, did you want to tell us more about this? Because you have...
Yeah. So as Letitia said, it started with the in-sessional team. So we have 51 EAP lecturers across 30 different schools. So the in-sessional provision at Leeds has expanded since kind of 2013, 2014. So we've met kind of every 3 weeks since November 24, and we have about 10 to 15 colleagues who are regular attendees, but about 27 who have kind of officially signed up to be part of it. Letitia mentioned that it's expanded. So there are colleagues now who are either in sessional, but not technically doing this scholarship work, but they still want to get involved. And then we've got people on different programs outside of in sessional who also want to get involved now, which is great. I think, it's important to say that this work is really connected to other CPD projects that have been happening at the Language Centre. So one big thing was we have these Language Centre forums, and people can present and share kind of their scholarship and work on different relevant topics. And one of the big things for us lately has been kind of revisiting or looking at language in our curriculum and the ESAP curriculum. We've had a centre-wide syllabus review project over the past 2 years or so. So that was a peer process where colleagues were looking at each other's syllabi and going through a series of kind of standardized questions, and then having discussions about the syllabus and the role of language within that and how we were approaching language. So this connects with that. It also connects with, you mentioned about how does this play out in the classroom and in terms of student interaction. So 2 of the projects are a materials design project. So looking at what are the principles of materials design, and we're starting now to kind of look at the role of scholarship in materials design and share examples with each other, and also a peer observation project. So over this semester and going into next year. So we're hoping to see this analysis informing the materials design and then having a closer look at what's actually happening in the classroom. Yeah. So we organised it through a Teams channel, and we uploaded the resources for each session there. We had some interaction in the team. And as Letitia said, it was very much, we're all here to learn. Some people do know a bit more than others, but there's always new things that we can notice together. It was really important that the people who we started with already had good knowledge of their context within their schools. So they could bring that with them and talk about, well, in art, this happens, or in English, this happens, and then to kind of apply it. So I'll leave that there for now and pick up a few of the bits as we go through. Letitia, if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this group, we have just a final thing about this scholarship project. So it's a language center-wide scholarship project for which we obtained ethics approval. And so our colleagues just sort of join in and benefit from the block ethics. And then we talk about all the individual projects through in each meetings, or at least we try. And the idea is that we're trying to give support for interdisciplinary scholarship. So not only looking at how we address discourse analysis, but also how we communicate with subject lecturers, how we develop joint collaborations around assessment of texts or and so on. So I leave this here, but that was a sort of a cycle that we use to support the different projects. This is just an example. There are more, but currently ongoing, we have scholarship projects in design around this type of genre, in psychology, in music, the lecture recital, engineering, English literature, which was a part of an one of our colleagues was doing a MA from the MA TEEP in Leeds. Physics, so we have multimodality, exam, reflections, here 3MT projects as well. There is more. Yesterday we had a forum, and I just found out a bit more about colleagues starting new projects. But what kind of connects us is that we have a strong interest, and our data will involve discourse, whether published disciplinary texts or students' sample scripts. And so we need the tools to look at them. So this is what we did over the last several meetings. So we started, as Michelle said, around November 2024. And so we started with a fairly strong social semiotics approach. In the first kind of meeting, we looked at what we needed in order to develop this big scholarship project. And it was fairly obvious that we all needed to develop knowledge first in order to do that work. So that's why, although we went in thinking that that's going to be a scholarship sharing space, it became a CPD first. And although each time we do bring in everybody's ongoing scholarship. And I think that now there is a shift towards increasing that discussion around scholarship, sharing analysis and things like that. The first part of the program was definitely quite input oriented. And so we covered all of this. We started, so you'll recognize a lot of what Grant said. We started with genre analysis, macro cohesion. So all that is quite strongly inspired from SFL and social semiotics. We had a look at how we describe ideational resources, so transitivity, taxonomies, technicality. So again, very much aligned to Grant's presentation. We looked at appraisal resources, and we did 2 sessions on this because engagement with literature, engaging with the literature is so important in different disciplines. So we had a whole session on that. We were very lucky to have Dr. Namala Dilakaratna come in early July before going to Glasgow to the SFL conference. And she kind of wrapped it all up to say, so now we know that, what do we do when we want to design an in-sessional or ESP curriculum? So then we came back and with that sort of knowledge established, it was really interesting to look at then Swales and Highland, which are more commonly probably used or maybe, yes, I'm not sure actually how to compare. But it was really interesting because then we could have a very informed lens on Swales and Highland and compare it with SFL. And it wasn't at all about saying, oh, well, SFL is vastly superior. It was really more about saying, okay, I can see how this would be so much easier to adapt or to use in a specific context, whether with colleagues or with students. Michelle will talk to this a bit more in detail, but there were so many interesting discussions. And I think they happened because we were well informed about the two different approaches. So we could go beyond the sort of, okay, I'm going to defend my own turf. So that was really refreshing, actually, to get to that level where we could look at affordances. We carried on with different types of argumentations in the disciplines. We had then 2 sessions on multimodality, which again was really enabled by the fact that by then our colleagues were very familiar with the metafunctions. So we could just go into a social semiotics view of multimodality with having a common language already. Now we're going to go back to legitimation code theory for 3 more sessions. And I think by then we might we're already thinking about redoing it next year, restarting, revising our materials and so on. And maybe shifting as well towards what our colleagues are doing and maybe doing core analysis and so on. I'm just mapping out quickly the knowledge that this involves for the social semiotics, so which is what maybe some colleagues might not be aware of. So for each of these metafunctions, there is a lot to know, which is why one forum is not going to do it. We do need a whole program. We do need several hours. But at the same time, it's not beyond, practitioners' timetables. Like we meet every 3 weeks for a couple of hours. And, over 18 months, we've really sort of built up quite a lot. So it is really feasible, but it cannot happen with superficial kind of looking at SFL. So what we're trying to achieve is this. So we've sort of thought of theory as a musical instrument, the idea that you do get better as you practice it, and that you can be creative about it, but often you can only kind of be creative with it once you've got a very good understanding of it. There's a beautiful kind of a blog from, I think he's called Nick Hopwood in Sydney, where he compares tools, lens, toolkits, and musical instrument. But that idea of going for building a culture of knowledge rather than turf fighting has been very, very important. Something I really I'm adamant about. I've been really for a long time, like even in when I used LCT first in specialization to analyze EAP, that's those warring triangles that Grant has talked about from Mayton and Bernstein. That's really what I could see in EAP, and it still occurs. And I still have colleagues who, if we talk about SFL, will see it as, oh, well, you want to dominate. It's not about that. It really is not about that. And it does us a great disservice to be so kind of antagonistic. So I think with Michelle, we're really managing, I think. And I mean, we're both learning as well, because it's often about the way we talk about the stuff we like. It might sound antagonistic when we don't mean it. So we're learning a lot, I think, about this. Like, for example, I don't exclaim about Swales or Highland quite as much as I used to. I'm trying. So anyway, so we're trying to capture this, right, for the ESP again, aligned to what Grant was talking about. How does discourse realize disciplinary